Douglas Scott Naeher is sitting in a cell tonight. No bond, no release date, just four walls and a charge sheet that says attempted first-degree murder. But here's what you need to know. This isn't just his story. Because right now, 1,000 miles away, another husband is staying very, very quiet. His name is Brian Hooker, and his silence is the reason we're making this video. 2 men, 2 boats, 2 wives. One of those wives is alive right now, telling investigators exactly what happened to her. The other one isn't here to tell anyone anything. Stay with us tonight and we'll show you 2 things. First, exactly how fast an arrest can happen when a victim survives to speak. Second, what happens to a case when she can't. An arrest doesn't happen because someone believes a story. It happens because evidence backs it up. Douglas Naeher found that out in under 24 hours. Brian Hooker hasn't been arrested. He hasn't been charged. And that gap between them is exactly what tonight's video is built around. Because underneath that silence, something has been recording every single second of the night his wife disappeared. You're about to hear what it caught. So let's look at exactly what put Douglas Naeher behind bars in under 24 hours. Evidence Here's Promise 1, delivered. This is exactly how fast justice moves when a victim survives. Picture this with me. You're 33 miles offshore, no land in sight, just open Gulf water in every direction. That's where Douglas Naeher took his wife fishing. His line snapped. That's it. That's all it took. He became irate, according to the sheriff's affidavit. Not annoyed. Irate. And here's the part that should stop you cold. His wife recognized that rage instantly. She'd seen it before, so she did something you hope you'd never have to consider. She got into the ocean to get away from her own husband. Imagine holding onto a rope, 33 miles from shore, waiting for the anger to pass. Now imagine him untying that rope and driving away from you. He only came back when another boat appeared nearby. And when his wife climbed back onto that boat, he punched her. Repeatedly. He stomped on her head while she lay there. She played dead. She held her breath. She stopped moving completely, because that was the only thing that made him stop. She survived. She talked. And within 24 hours, you had Douglas Naeher in handcuffs, charged with attempted first-degree murder. That's what evidence looks like when a victim can speak for herself. Now I want you to picture a case where she can't. Brian Hooker's wife, Lynette, went missing from their boat, Soulmate, on April 4th. He says she fell overboard during a rough night at sea, but Lynette isn't here to confirm or deny a single word of that story. So who speaks for her? Her Apple Watch, her phone. The boat's GPS, a Starlink terminal logging every device that connected to it that night. Every one of those devices was recording a night Brian says no one witnessed. And according to a U.S. official, that data does not match his story. Which raises the only question that actually matters right now. Key question, here's Promise 2, delivered. This is what happens when the victim can't speak for herself. The evidence has to speak instead. And right now, it's speaking louder than Brian Hooker is. His Bahamian attorney, Terrell Butler, says he categorically and unequivocally denies any wrongdoing. His Michigan attorney, Crystal Marie Hauser, has asked the public to give him the benefit of the doubt. Fair enough. He hasn't been charged. The presumption of innocence applies fully, and it should. But ask yourself something. If you had nothing to hide, what would you say? Here's what investigators are actually working with right now. 5 things, sitting in front of them. 1. GPS data from Brian's own devices, showing movement that doesn't match his account. 2. An Apple Watch that recorded Lynette's heartbeat until the moment it stopped. 3. A Starlink connection log, time-stamped on servers Brian can't reach. 4. A boat's battery system, tracking every light and pump switched on that night. 5. Lynette's own mother, telling Fox News Digital there was foul play on board. 5 separate systems, none of them controlled by Brian, none of them capable of forgetting. Forensic expert Dr. Ann Burgess notes that emotional flatness in the aftermath of a planned intimate partner homicide is one of the most consistent behavioral markers investigators look for. Witnesses who saw Brian that night didn't describe grief. They described calm, quiet, businesslike. So here's the question we can't stop asking. If the evidence is already talking, how long can silence actually hold? Does silence ever count as an answer? Tell us what you'd want to hear from him. Bridge. And while his attorneys stay quiet, something else has been talking the whole time. Suspect/truth. Let's be exact about what the GPS shows. Per a U.S. official confirmed to CBS, NBC, and ABC, Brian's device didn't drift helplessly for 9 hours like he claimed. It moved. It stopped in the Sea of Abaco. Then it came back. That's not an accident. That's a route. Lynette's Apple Watch was still syncing when her phone connected to the boat's Starlink terminal that evening. A timestamp sitting on a server that Brian cannot delete. And then there's the detail that changes everything. Darlene Hamlet, Lynette's own mother, told Fox News Digital directly, Lynette made it back to the boat. There was a fight. There was foul play. She was gone before 8 p.m. Not lost at sea. Not overboard. On the boat, he says, was empty all night. We need to say this clearly. Brian Hooker has not been charged. He denies all of this through his attorneys. He is legally presumed innocent, and that matters. But the devices on that boat don't care what he says out loud. They already logged what happened. One man is behind bars tonight. The other is behind something else entirely. Which detail unsettles you more? The route his GPS traced, or the calm everyone describes? Tell us below. Unresolved close Douglas Naeher is exactly where he'll stay for a while. No bond, charges filed, a trial ahead where his wife will testify in person. Brian Hooker is still free, still uncharged, still silent behind two attorneys who've said everything they're going to say. But investigators say this case isn't stalling. It's building.
No body,
Subpoena
murder
by
on the high
subpoena,
seas was
server
federally
by
indicted.
server.
The
One
CGIS
arrest
does
just
not
changed
stop,
everything for
and it does
Douglas
not
Naeher.
lose when it is ready.
The question we keep coming
Let
back
me bring
to
everything
is simple.
together.
What does
Two
silence
women,
change
two
for
boats,
the other man?
two husbands who
Darlene,
decided
Carly,
that the
and Dan
ocean
have
was the
waited
solution
months
to
for
a problem
answers.
they created
deserve
inside a
them.
marriage.
So does
Two
Lynette.
mornings that
We're not
seemed
saying he's
ordinary
guilty.
until they were
We're
not.
saying the story is still
Two
being
women who
written,
noticed
and the
something was
evidence is
wrong
holding the
and got
pen.
on the boat anyway.
Do you think the silence
because you
will
do
hold,
not want to think
or is
the
it
worst
already
of the
breaking?
person you love.
Drop your theory
because
below.
100 times
We'll be
before,
back the moment
nothing
this case
happened.
moves. Subscribe,
One woman felt
turn on
33 miles of
notifications,
open gulf
and
between
don't miss
herself
the
and the
next
shore.
update.
She